When a menstrual cycle comes, relax, eat your cake, be a moody bitch. It's okay, you know? Today we're talking about periods. Periods, menstruation, cycle syncing, all of the above. If you like the pop of red, it's very fitting for the topic of today's video. So, there was such an interesting quote. I will read it to you. That is, menstrual activism exemplifies third wave feminism because it includes feminist spiritualist, which is menstrual activists who work to reclaim menstruation as a healthy, sacred, empowering, and even pleasurable experience for women. I think that's amazing. I really love that quote because I personally resonate with that whole idea of a feminist spiritualist. Oh, I love that quote, and I think it kind of prompted me to do this video and speak about menstruation, speak about cycle syncing, and speak about, my views, thoughts, and opinions and beliefs about menstruation, how I personally navigate it in my day-to-day life. Possibly give you guys tips, tricks. We'll definitely leave, resources and stuff in the description box below. I'm not a gynecologist. I just know a lot about that. I've just read a lot about this stuff because I'm personally very interested in my body and the way it functions and all of this biology stuff. I think it's very interesting. So, what is a menstrual cycle? I'm sure you probably know. It basically is a series of natural changes in hormone production and the structures of uterus and ovaries of the female reproductive system that make pregnancy possible. So the entirety of a menstrual cycle will be about 29 to 34 days, 35 days, I'm not really sure. And day 1 to, let's just say day 1 to 5, right? You would be bleeding, right? And then day 6 to 10, you'll be in the second phase of your menstrual cycle, which is the follicular phase. And then day 11 to day 18, that's ovulation phase. And then day 18 to about 20, 23, for example, that's your luteal phase. Learning that there was 4 different phases within the entirety of your menstrual cycle was also very awakening to me, because I was like, oh, okay, it's not just this week 1 to 5 days where I'm going through changes. It's actually the whole month where my body is going through hormonal and physical changes. And there is a lot of scientific literature that supports the idea that, due to the fact that our hormones and stuff are changing throughout the month to support, either pregnancy or to shed the lining of our uterus and it being a menstrual cycle. There's fluctuations between estrogen, progesterone, and the literature shows that the fluctuations within those hormones can impact our daily life, our energy levels, our stress levels, our hunger, cravings, a whole bunch of things. And so cycle syncing is kind of this, to me, holistic approach where you can track, have this sort of fertility awareness. It's sort of a fertility awareness method, I guess, where you can kind of be okay, I am in my follicular phase, and this means that my estrogen levels are starting to rise, my progesterone is starting to go down. That means I'm most likely to experience, these type of behaviors, symptoms, and feel this specific way. That can help you out in being able to accommodate your hormonal changes throughout your menstrual cycle. Ultimately making, your life and your experience as someone who has a menstrual cycle less daunting, less confusing, and I honestly think it's way more empowering. I mean, I have always had a interest in my menstrual cycle and my period because I was just what is this? What's going on? I found it kind of interesting, definitely. I used to use Clue very, very often, and I would like track all my symptoms and everything like that. And it was through that where you can start to kind of like anticipate things and, you know, mentally prepare yourself, physically prepare yourself for your period or for the different phases that you're going through. So I'm going to break it up in terms of how I use cycle syncing as an approach to support my spiritual, physical, and mental health. So let's get into it. So back to the New Blood, you know, quote, which I really resonated with. The whole idea that, like, I do have kind of like a spiritual perspective towards having a period. I mean, another thing is that everything, you know, also tapping into the more like spiritual elements of like change is natural. It's the only constant is change. Having that experience through my body has also been something quite like of a spiritual experience, if that makes sense. I think that a part of like menstrual activism, or being like a feminist spiritualist, you know, seeing kind of like the sacred and the spirituality behind having a menstrual cycle, seeing it as something empowering, sacred, and beautiful and pleasurable, has really made me like change my perspective on my body. Yeah, we know that in nature things are very cyclical, and or like having that reminder occur monthly for me, I would say is quite like spiritual as well. Also, if you just read up about like, you know, periods and how it's connected with the moon and the lunar cycle, and you know, how women back in the day used to track their periods via the lunar cycle because it's, you know, kind of in sync and all of that stuff. As we spoke about, you know, the whole menstrual cycle and how there's the, you know, the actual menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase. I think also the interpretation of our entire menstrual cycle and all of their phases being different seasons has also like kind of added to that whole like spiritual element in seeing, you know, when we bleed, the menstrual phase as, you know, a sort of like winter, an inner winter, representative of like the winter time. Our follicular phase, you know, sort of like a spring when we're coming out of, you know, that winter time, that darkness, that time of bleeding. Ovulation, seeing it as like the summertime, and then our luteal phase, seeing it as like the autumn time, ready to shed, and then again and again and again. I guess again reinforces that like cyclical nature of life and being a woman and all of that stuff. Definitely the spiritual aspect of it has made me shift and change the way in which I view my period and my body. So here for it. I'm so here for it. I'm glad spirituality has like infiltrated itself into the menstruation, you know, chat. I love it a lot. What I can sort of say to you is that, yeah, seeing your menstrual cycle from a more spiritual perspective, I'm sure can truly help with just your feelings about your period, and again, like viewing yourself as a sacred being, as your menstrual cycle as something sacred and something that really be revered and honored and thought of as something so beautiful and representative of womanhood and femininity and the whole idea of change in the natural world. So yeah, in which I've used cycle syncing is to become more aware of my physical health. So I think there was even one journal article. It showed that, you know, seed cycling really helped in individuals who had PCOS, and it really helped, you know, balance their hormones. And so it is basically supplementing your diet with specific seeds, right? So it would like recommend that in your follicular phase you eat these sort of seeds to kind of support your estrogen levels. In your luteal phase you have these sort of seeds to kind of support your progesterone levels. I'm not as strict in terms of like diets and seed cycling, albeit I'm very new to that whole type of thing. But in knowing that, I was like, oh, okay, like I could definitely be eating the types of foods in order to like support your body as it naturally fluctuates during your menstrual cycle. I actually did this for myself where I think it was like for a month or two, I wrote down over here the types of foods that I kind of lean to gravitate and enjoy. So during my menstrual phase, it is dark chocolate, ginger tea for the nausea, a lot of water, a lot of citrusy stuff. I'm usually kind of like nauseous. My appetite is pretty much low. But yeah, I just have a natural inclination to go for my teas and my citrusy stuff. I know that the magnesium in dark chocolate is really, really good for you. I know that during this time as well, just like general knowledge, boosting, you know, things that are rich in iron because I'm losing a lot of blood. So I will take my iron supplements, or I'll eat more dark leafy greens, you know. In my follicular phase, this is when I started like craving a lot of sweet treats, a lot of healthy fats as well. In my ovulation, I kind of noted that I needed a lot of water during this time because I'm usually like on the go, on my feet already, my estrogen is up, I have a lot of energy. So eating kind of like heavy food kind of bogs me down. We're eating lighter meals, hydrating a lot, lighter snacks. It kind of supports my energy and my hormonal levels at that time, I feel. And then in my luteal phase, this is when I'm it's just before my menstrual cycle. My mental state is, very questionable. We are PMSing on 1000. A lot of water here, a lot of heavy foods here. This is when I'm probably eating my most. It's a lot of sweet treats, a lot of carb heavy, dense things. Yeah, that's kind of what I've like, just from writing out and just seeing, you know, over the course of a few months, what I kind of like naturally gravitate towards. And yeah, I'll say like doing all of this has helped me, you know, tune in with my own body. You'll find that maybe your appetite sky fucking rockets during your menstrual cycle and you just want to eat a lot of salty food, sweet treats, whatever it is. I think every body is different, every person is different, obviously based on your lifestyle, where you live, your genetics, your hormones, everything like that. So I really do think it's helpful. Yeah, like there's a list and you can go and see which foods are the most beneficial for you, and maybe it could be stuff that you already buy, you know, but you can kind of like implement it more intentionally. I really do think it's helpful and yeah, very, very helpful to write down, you know, what your sort of cravings and feelings are throughout the month. Knowing that has really helped prepare for my menstrual cycle, and make myself, you know, like my body feel more at ease, more calm than if I was just eating the way I was eating throughout my entire cycle. Because yeah, I do feel like there's that like natural inclination to be like, fuck, I have my fucking period, it's fucked. 100% valid. But I'm not saying that these will completely, you know, take away all of your symptoms, but maybe lessen them. And then second to the food component, I think as well, the physical component, exercising as well to support my body on my menstrual cycle. I feel like also helped with not only introducing variety to my not just my diet, but also like my exercise regime, you know. I know for me, when it's my menstrual phase, my luteal phase as well, my menstrual phase, I'm probably not doing any exercise. I won't even lie to you. I'm probably just doing a lot of yin yoga, literally like a follicular week. I'll be starting to do more like intense yoga series and classes, more quick, more sweaty. Ovulation, that's when I have a lot of energy. I'm doing a lot of the walking. I'm all over. I'm doing my yins, my vins, my vinyasas, my sun salutations, a lot's going on. And then my luteal phase, that's when I kind of start like easing down a little bit. Sometimes I do have a little bit of bump of energy to do like heavy strength training. I don't know why and where this energy comes in, but absolutely no fucking cardio. There is no cardio happening during my luteal phase at all. Personally, does not happen. And yeah, again, like I found that has added more variety, more balance, and more ease to my menstrual cycle, because it feels like, again, like I'm supporting the natural fluctuations throughout my body. So yeah, that's my physical approach to, you know, how I go about my period. For the mental health part, I think cycle syncing has helped a lot in terms of my mental health. For a while I actually thought I had PMDD, because my thoughts were just crazy. And that too did prompt me to kind of learn more about like my mindset, my attitude, definitely like how my physical state impacts my emotional state. So like in my menstrual cycle phase, I realized that I'm actually very creative. Like I will like birth a lot of ideas, which is quite like, was interesting to find out. Usually I felt pretty dead inside while I was going through like my period. I'm usually like, I like to be alone during this time, chilling in the bed with my teas, my hot water bottles, not really doing much, doing my yoga. But I've realized that because I'm so like introspective during that time, I'll start having like a lot of creative ideas, especially towards the tail end of my period. I think I just have this sense of like, okay, new beginning kind of energy. Yeah, I've like shedded everything from the month before, and now I have like the sense of newness within me. So naturally I start feeling a bit creative, and I start having more creative ideas, and yeah, a little bit more energy for like the month ahead. So I love that, and I've realized that about my mental state. In my follicular phase, because I do have like a little bit of energy, start, you know, putting all of those creative ideas into action. So definitely my writing starts to increase. I'll start becoming more chattier, more conversational, more curious. I'll start reading more, and my overall like attitude is like hopeful, and yeah, just more like bright-eyed, you know. When I'm ovulating, it's a fun time. It's really a fun time. That is when I'm like peak, you know, my estrogen levels are peak, my testosterone levels are peak. So it's usually when I like to do my content creation, or when I'm like, I have all of the energy to multitask. And I've also clocked that during this time, I will still have energy even though I've slept less. So usually that's when I'm like working in the night, like doing stuff, multitasking, cleaning things, like, so that kind of like boosts my mental health, my self-esteem, my mindset, you know. And then in my luteal phase, I'll find that because like my physical body feels heavy and all of this stuff, I tend to feel very down, very down. Yeah, very down. That's usually when I have like a lot of my most like distressing mental times. Like I just delete the apps of Pinterest and Instagram, because I can just like doom scroll forever, because I'm not like doing anything physically. I don't have the energy to do anything. I could just be like on my phone scrolling, and that's not, you know, like healthy and stuff. Like as much as I've like gone through this and come the next period, I'm not like 100% better, but I have this like awareness that, oh, okay, I'm probably gonna feel like this, instead of being like, what is happening, what's going on, la, 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 like, am I going crazy, am I going nuts? I kind of just remember like, girl, it could be your period. Which phase are you in right now? Our hormones can play such a huge role in our physical and mental states, you know. I mean, just take something like estrogen and testosterone, for examples, that is really high in like follicular ovulation phase, how that does give you more energy and you're more likely to want to, you know, seek and go out and just be like out there, you know. This is the spring to summertime of your menstrual cycle, whereas in the luteal and the menstrual phase, you know, the autumn and the winter, you are likely to be down, you know, because of those, you know, the decrease in estrogen, the decrease in testosterone, the increase in progesterone. You're probably going to be a little bit bloated, a little bit sluggish, a little bit down, and that as well will impact the way you kind of see yourself. I know my body dysmorphia vibes go crazy during the luteal phase. It's actually a bit sickening. I think this can be very like useful information to become aware, anticipate different moods, feelings and symptoms. It's been really, really helpful. Yeah, I think that's all I genuinely have to say about the glory that is cycle syncing. I'm so happy that I've stumbled upon, you know, this body of knowledge. I think it's gonna go very far. I think it already has gone very far, you know, with just like scientists and people realizing that a period is more than just a period, you know, and how influential and impactful the menstrual cycle is. Yeah, I started mine when I was 12 years old. My mom was amazing at like educating me about my period, so I wasn't like mortified per se when it happened to me. I had two older sisters, so it wasn't like, yeah, I wasn't like, what is actually going on with my body? I kind of knew about it, I expected it. My mom also bought me a book, bless her soul. And in school as well, they did teach us about, you know, the menstrual cycle and stuff like that. It still was like jarring, you know, like to just be like, what is kind of going on with my body? We're in less taboo times. There definitely was an element of shame attached, because I did feel like embarrassed at the idea of my dad knowing that I started my period, and it wasn't something I openly spoke about until I was like much older. Obviously it was like something shared between friends, you know, you speak about it with your girlfriends and stuff, but it was only like now truly where I gained the confidence to speak about my period in the way that I'm speaking about it now. Yeah, I think that's maybe just like an age thing. It does suck sometimes, I'll be honest. It does suck sometimes. I mean, it does, but the older I get, the more, like, obviously I think the more accepting of it I am. Relationship I have with my period, I mean, it's such a signifier of health to me, and I look at it as, okay, cool, I'm bleeding, everything's going cool, everything's okay. I'm able to gauge based on like the intensity of my cramps, my symptoms, you know, all of that stuff, how my mental state is. I'm able to kind of gauge how my body is doing, how I treated it the month before. Because yeah, definitely I found a huge correlation between, you know, not necessarily taking care of my body physically, mentally, all of that stuff throughout the month, and me just having a period that decides to annihilate the fuck out of my body. Like, so yeah, guys, I'm glad to actually have spoken about this. I think that's everything I have to say for today. This was really a chill and fun video to film for you guys. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, thank you for watching.